I'm Shanti, and I choose a children's story. I like children's story and also read by myself. The Guardians of Lore is the name, and the author is Daniel Errico. Okay, let's start. Daydreams. I was sitting in class when I first saw it. Miss Weaver had been my teacher for a few months, and I was known around Stackwood Elementary for the stack of black hair that rose a foot above her head. Before the school year started, I'd heard a few rumors about her, and within a week I realized that they were all true. For one thing, she did, in fact, wear the same outfits every day. The colors changed, but she always had on striped pants and striped jacket. For another thing, she was mind-numbingly boring. It was the kind of boring that made your eyes shut without permission. The biggest problem, though, was the stories. She was obsessed with tales of former students who had become some kind of famous. The first couple of times weren't bad, maybe even kind of interesting. But by the second week of school, she had started repeating herself, just like her outfits. By then, I knew all the stories by heart. The professional football player who got excellent marks in math, the state senator who has a teacher's pet. I knew every word. So, instead of trying my hardest to listen, I spent most of class drawing in my notebook. Most days, I draw in imaginary places and then spend the rest of the time whipped up creatures to live there. They'd have horns where horns don't go, fur where scales should be, and all the wings. They were odd, and they each had a story that I wanted to tell. But on that day, I never even got to the first pair of wings. I had barely gotten started when they appeared, and changed Stackwood, me, forever. If I had chosen to press its little green face against any other window, I might not have seen it. And if I hadn't been trying to decide whether my dragon should have 4 legs or 2, I might not have looked out the window at the exact moment, dropping my pencil on the page. It was a frog, and it was staring right at me. I couldn't stop looking at the frog, and it couldn't stop looking back. We were locked in a staring contest. Maybe some frog blinked, but with its eyes smashed against the glass. This one didn't. Stackwood Forest was just beyond the schoolyard, and it was riddled with frogs. But they always avoided people. I knew the right way, in a way that I could think better than I could say, that this frog was different. I tried to listen back into Miss Weaver, just in time to hear the end of her story about Martin Scandal, the now famous comedian. Martin had transferred schools halfway through the year, so I always felt to me like that one shouldn't count. We were supposed to be learning long division, but something had reminded her of Martin. I knew exactly what bad joke she had ended the story with, but much less about long division. Whenever he got act up in class, I'd say, "We got a real comedian on our hands, don't we?" And I was right. She had with a guffaw, and I was certain that Miss Weaver would see the frog with moments, but I was wrong. Nobody did. More importantly, when I looked again to see if it was still there, I noticed something new, something shiny. And then I realized what it was. I forgot all about class and Miss Weaver and Martin Shadows. There was no denying it. The frog had put on a tiny pair of glasses. I wanted to lecture it, to explain that frogs don't wear glasses. It bothered me that I didn't already know that. On top of that, it had been staring at me for at least 5 minutes by then, and that seemed to be bordering on rude. Could a frog even be rude? I wasn't sure. But the bigger question was why he was so interested in me. I wasn't the type of kid who got attention. Teachers always wrote, "Need to participate more," on my report cards, with a smiley face to make my parents feel better. I never got into trouble and barely ever stood out on purpose. A few years later, I accidentally peed my pants because my diaper had gotten stuck in a bathroom at the last moment. I tried to convince everyone that I had fallen into a puddle at recess. The custodian, Mr. Salazar, charged outside with a mop and brought me with him to point out the puddle. My guess is that we wasted a half hour looking around at the dry gravel. Luckily, my mom dropped off some new clothes, and nobody really noticed my wardrobe change, or that I hadn't run in weeks. That's how it was. Whether I did something spectacular or sneezed myself out of a chair, nobody cared, and almost nobody said my name. As far as school was concerned, all of those things happened to some kid. So, one of the frog with glasses jumped up on a windowsill to stare at some kid.